Good evening. My name is Z.Driskell, Regional Emergency Coordinator for Burlington, Vermont. Today, the governor announced that per his request, the federal government has declared a state of emergency for the state of Vermont. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, is now organizing funds and resources to help the state. The governor has stated that his priorities include 1. Restoring power in urban centers, while shelters will be available for residents of rural areas. Second priority identified by the governor is the establishment of an emergency mutual assistance agreement to ensure response and recovery efforts are not delayed. Albert Lewis has been named as the federal coordinating officer for federal recovery operations in the affected area. Lewis said additional designations may be made at a later date if requested by the state and warranted by the results of further damage assessments. On to the weather. The freezing rain has stopped, however 8 inches of ice still remain in certain areas north of Burlington. The National Weather Service has forecasted temperatures varying from 28 to 34 degrees over the next few days. These temperatures are ideal to achieve the desired effects from salt and abrasives currently on the roadways, which previously was not an option. It is also important to note that the National Weather Service has published an alert for more cold temperatures to come 1 week from today. That alert specifies that the temperatures could be as low as 15 degrees during that time. On the power. Velco is using 100% of the resources and estimates that complete power restoration could take up to a few months. Velco is still struggling, or is continuing to struggle with workforce availability. However, to add to this issue, necessary parts and material that are critical for the restoration process are currently on back order. Due to ice and fallen trees, Velco employees are having difficulty trying to reach some of the areas where they need to repair power lines. Recently, they just fully were able to utilize their fleet of vehicles. Right now, based on the governor's recommendations, Velco is focusing their efforts on urban areas like Burlington and Montpelier. Rural and remote areas will come later in the restoration process. Transportation. The Department of Transportation still maintains that all streets and secondary roads are too dangerous for motorists. Main highways remain closed to travel due to the ice accumulation. DOT estimates that approximately 95% of the road networks are impassable in northern Vermont. Salt and other abrasives are being laid on roadways as we speak. With the favorable temperatures over the next few days, we expect this process to have some success. On to procurement and resources. Now that the federal government has declared a state of emergency, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, will coordinate all disaster relief efforts. Federal funding is available to state and eligible local governments and certain private nonprofit organizations on a cost-sharing basis for emergency work and the repair or replacement of facilities damaged by the severe storm in the following counties: Franklin, Orleans, Essex, Grand Isle, Lamoille, Chittenden, Washington, and Caledonia. Specifically, FEMA is authorized to identify, mobilize, and provide, at its discretion, equipment and resources necessary to alleviate the impacts of the emergency. The state of emergency declaration will help to relieve the problem related to overtime compensation expressed by the Department of Transportation. Their budget for their resources and manpower was depleting because of overtime issues. So the state of emergency declaration will help with that. The Department of Transportation needs assistance from the private sector for de-icing efforts, as well as more reserves of salt and abrasive, which is depleting quickly. Velco will also need additional resources, including manpower and repair resources, as they continue the restoration process. These materials may need to be sourced outside the United States, considering the company is already pulling resources from California and Arizona. That is all. Thank you.